So, is it ever appropriate for your girlfriend to disagree with you in public in front of other people? I'm going to start off with this video telling you a story about a time about 12 years ago. Me and a bunch of my friends and some of their girlfriends, we rented out this house down, in the holiday region by the forest. And it was meant to be fun, just, dinners, hikes, board games, things like that. But one couple just fought and bickered the entire time. I remember we were playing Pictionary with them, and they kept arguing over who was doing the game properly and who was screwing it up for the team. It's just, I cringe thinking about it. It's so inappropriate, and I can understand that sometimes couples are going to have like a hard period, but the fact that they were doing this in front of people, like they didn't alter their behavior publicly, was what really concerned me. It was like, wow, like you're not even embarrassed to have us see this. Things are so bad that you're willing to do this in front of other people. But the truth is that if you grew up in a household where mum and dad were constantly fighting, in private or in public, then you don't necessarily have a sense of what's socially appropriate. You don't know what's normal. So I'm going to create the video for this to give my perspective on it, so that if this happens to you, you have a sense of where it's okay. Now, in the ordinary course of a relationship, you're going to have fights, you're going to have conflict, you're going to have disagreements. And I'm not somebody who actually thinks that that is indicative of a bad thing in your relationship. There are some codependent couples who never fight because they never challenge each other. And I don't think that's a good thing. Fighting can be a sign of growth. It can obviously get to a toxic place, but general friction, like, oh, that's not my value, or why did you do it like this? And, learning to understand things from the other person's perspective, it's going to potentially be a little bit uncomfortable. And ideally, in the matter of, 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever, you talk about it and you can resolve it. But the thing is that when you're in a social engagement, you don't have that opportunity. A good fight, if such a thing exists, a good argument takes a certain amount of time in order to get through, because you can't rush these things. You need to allow both people the full time to explore their emotional response, their own reality, to convey that information to the other person. Whereas if something happens at a party or at a dinner or at a concert or at a movie or a board games night or whatever it is that you do socially with your friends, something that one of the people does that irritates the other person, there's no way in that instance you're going to actually have the appropriate amount of time to resolve the issue. And so anything you do to comment about it is automatically only going to serve to like put the other person down in an instance where they don't have the opportunity to further explore it. And so unless what you're doing is incredibly outrageous and really warrants a strong reaction, I think that it's reasonable to say that your girlfriend should not be picking fights with you or criticizing you, or dare I say, even disagreeing with you in front of other people. There are a few caveats to that I'll get to, but on the whole, I think it's socially quite strange. And I know that this is not like just from a male perspective, because the suggestion for this topic actually came from a female supporter of the channel, and she was complaining, I suppose, about what she sees around her with her female friends, and she finds it incredibly disrespectful to their boyfriends, the way that they will belittle them or put them down, almost using the people who are there as a social situation as like an audience, adding to the man's humiliation. And in the conversation with her talking about it, we started saying, okay, well, what if there's just a disagreement of opinion, like different values, something political comes up, some social cause, and they find themselves on different issues. Should they talk about it? And she was quite strong. She's like, no, as a woman, you shouldn't be doing that. Like if you have issues with him, you bring that up in private, but it's your job as a woman to support him, to be by his side. You can't be undermining him in public. And I'll admit there's a part of me that's like was bristling a little bit, because that seemed like a little bit traditional, a little bit conservative. I was like, God, like, does she not have the right to express her own opinions? Is she just there to boost the man? Like, I think that this woman had slightly more traditional, possibly even religious values than I do. But I think that it's an interesting thing to actually explore. So let's not talk about fights and arguments and bickering, which I think we can all agree obviously shouldn't be done in public. But what about just disagreeing? Like, you're there, you're talking to some of your male friends, your girlfriend's by your side, and you're like, oh, I think that the economy is going to get better in the next 3 months. And she's like, I don't think so. I think you're wrong. Is she expressing her opinion, or is there something deeper here that's actually inappropriate? Now, I'll say that first. Let's talk about you first before we start talking about her, because I have seen some men do this, and it's a very toxic thing as a couple to do, is that there has been some contentious issue between the two of them that has remained unresolved, and the man or the woman sometimes will purposely bring up that topic in a social situation as a means of trying to enlist more people to her side. So, for example, if like the economy example is a bad one, but let's say the man and woman have been fighting all week about whether the economy was going to go up and down, he might almost in a sort of gaslighting kind of way bring it up in front of other people as a way of sort of feeling out the waters to see what other people think about that. But if he does it in front of her, it can be almost a sort of like, the way that he's going to express it. It's going to be a way of like, I think it's obvious, don't you guys sort of agree? And then perhaps without actually even telling his friends that this has been a contentious issue, he'll then use whatever comments are made by the wider social audience as a way of being like, do you see other people kind of agree with me? And in which case, you're not exploring a benign, neutral disagreement. You're actually having an argument, but cloaking it as a disagreement. And it's extremely inappropriate. Can you imagine how awkward it would be to be that person's friend, to realize that you've inadvertently been brought into a personal conflict between the two of them, almost like an arbiter, or, you have to barrack for one side or the other. And so if someone is bringing in third parties to try and settle an argument, then all rules kind of flow out the door. It is not a regular disagreement. You treat it like an argument, and the person who acted first is in the wrong, and the person has the right to defend themselves. That's my perspective. But with regards to regular disagreements, I think that it is somewhat bad taste for your girlfriend to express a contrary opinion in front of other people, depending on how she does it, right? Like, she could always say something supportive like, oh yeah, Alex has already explained his point of view to me, and I think that there's merit in it. I can see where he's coming from. I come at it from a slightly different angle. I think that there's more emphasis on this. Like, what do you guys think? In which case, it's not a matter of who's right or wrong, or trying to settle a conflict or an argument like there's going to be a winner and a loser. It's more like a good-natured, scientific, even curious exploration of the facts and the issues. Like, it could be this way, it could be this way. Let's have an interesting discussion about it. In which case, I don't think that there's a problem there, because the disagreement is not of a substantial nature. It's not personal. It's really just about the ideas. And if she's already made that show of affirming the validity of her boyfriend's point. But don't get fooled by a woman who disagrees with you on seemingly neutral topics as a way of subtly getting digs at you, of undermining you. Because I know it's not particularly PC to say, but it's really, really embarrassing as a man. I'll just say it. If your girlfriend is having a go at you or disagreeing with you in front of like your male friends, it's not a good feeling. People will be like, oh, like there's seemingly no respect from his partner as to his opinions. She doesn't seem to agree with him. He can't even kind of convince her. And it makes you feel like less of a man. Now, to what degree this is a valid perspective, or if, with feminism and social change, we could potentially sort of uproot that. I don't really know. I don't really want to go into that. I just think that it's a basic courtesy that a girl should show her boyfriend, that if she disagrees with him, she should express that to him in private, right? It shouldn't be something that she's doing in public. And the reason why I feel comfortable saying this is because I actually don't think that this is gendered. I would give the same advice to men as well. And I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but it seems as though it would sting less for a man to publicly disagree with his girlfriend than it would be the other way around. Why that is, I think I look forward to hearing your guys' theories in the comments section. And if there are some women listening to this who strongly disagree with me, I also welcome that feedback. But I would love for you to tell me about the specific dynamics of your relationship. Specifically, who do you think would take it more personally, like the husband or the wife, if their partner was to disagree with their opinion in front of their friends? Who would that hurt more? Who would that be more embarrassing for, the man or the woman? Now, personally, I think it's for the man, but I haven't lived through a woman's experience. But here's the thing. I don't think that necessarily means that it's appropriate for men to do that. I've seen guys do that, almost taking a kind of weird pleasure, I suppose, in toxic dysfunctional relationships with kind of embarrassing their partner by disagreeing with them in public, almost challenging them to fight back or to argue back, whereas the woman doesn't want to do that because she doesn't want to make a scene or whatever. So she's just like, oh yeah, like, okay. And a way of like him kind of asserting his dominance. It's extremely toxic, very, very weird. And I completely don't approve of that. So from my perspective, even though I've been talking most of this video about, a girlfriend shouldn't disagree with her boyfriend in front of other people, ultimately, I don't think that this is a gendered issue. I think that it's a general matter of respect and courtesy that you don't do that. If you disagree, I think it should be a matter of private conversation. So lots of requests for feedback on this one. Looking forward to hearing your response to this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.